Hello everyone, and welcome to Natural Grocer's Nutrition Education presentation. Today we are pleased to introduce Dr. Chris LoRang, Doctor of Chiropractic, owner of Capital Chiropractic and Rehabilitation Center. Welcome, Dr. LoRang.
Thank you so much. I'm very pleased to be here, and a big thanks to you and Natural Grocers for having me. So I'm just going to share my screen here. And there we are. So today we're going to talk about an introduction to the Wahls Protocol, revolutionary modern paleo plan, and I'll share a bit of my history as we go forward. But the Wahls Protocol is developed by Dr. Terry Wahls, based in Iowa City. She's at the University of Iowa Hospitals and Clinics, and she is doing some incredible research on the value of proper nutritional intake, food intake, as well as lifestyle changes along the path. And so we're going to look at this introduction of Wahls Protocol, learn about this revolutionary approach to treating chronic disease and autoimmune conditions, and how to make these lifestyle changes sustainable. So we'll look at a bit of my story, the inspiring story of Dr. Wahls, if you have not seen that already, the research that she is conducting and has conducted, the basics of her approach, and as well as next steps to take in your path. So I'll hope that you'll learn a bit about what your next steps might be after seeing this presentation. A bit about me, my history. I did my undergraduate work at the University of Iowa. I did my chiropractic degree at Palmer College in Davenport, Iowa. I own Capital Chiropractic and Rehabilitation Center here in Des Moines, Iowa. I own the Wellness Group, which is an insurance compliance company, Building Your Baby from the Ground Up, which is an educational platform for infant movement development, and soon to launch Iowa HBOT, which is for hyperbaric oxygen treatments here in Des Moines. I play in a band, Abby and the Sawyers, and my family here on the right, we have two little kiddos, a 4-year-old now and a 10-month-old, and we try to follow the same principles from the Wahls Protocol with their dietary intake as well, and they are, I believe, benefiting from that approach. This is our medical disclaimer. You'll see another one of these in just a moment. Now, okay, a bit about my health journey. As a kiddo, I was overweight. I often say that I had a slow drip soda consumption in my early years. High carbohydrates, high sugar intake, highly processed oil intake. Started to develop some signs of asthma, obviously weight. And as a freshman in high school, I decided that I was going to discontinue soda consumption. And by the end of that high school, those 3 or 4 years, I had dropped about 30 pounds. And so even this idea of cutting out sugar has been significant in my own life. And I still do not drink soda today. A bit of Iowa stats here. So, okay, in Iowa, more than 50,000 Iowa kids are obese. Obesity is at historic highs here in Iowa. We're going to see a national map here. By 2020, 75% of Americans will be overweight or obese. So those are some scary statistics, not to scare you, but to potentially inspire you to take some different changes in your own pathway here. Now, we know from the research that lifestyle-induced chronic diseases lead to heart disease, lead to stroke, lead to diabetes, lead to obesity, metabolic syndrome, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and some cancers. So if we can start to alter lifestyle, we might be able to see some significant changes in our own health and wellness. I initially met Dr. Wahls a number of years ago after the release of her first book. She's based here in Iowa, as am I, and I'm pleased to now be able to call her both a mentor and a good friend. And she is changing the face of what we know about healthcare. This is her first book, Radical New Way to Treat All Chronic Autoimmune Conditions. And this is starting to lay the groundwork for her research at the University of Iowa Hospitals and Clinics and in MS. Just another disclaimer here. The autoimmune epidemic, 25 million Americans have serious autoimmune diagnoses, 75 million Americans have pain, fatigue, and brain fog and autoantibodies. In 2011, Americans paid over $100 billion for autoimmune drug treatment. Immune dysfunction can be treated, stabilized, and even reversed using therapeutic diet and lifestyle interventions. And you'll see some of that research later on. Okay, which of these might best describe you? You're having symptoms and have some autoantibodies, but do not have a diagnosis. And you're looking to educate yourself on the latest findings around autoimmune health. Or perhaps you've heard of others who have recovered using the Wahls Protocol. You want to learn if it can help you. Perhaps you have optic neuritis or multiple sclerosis, and you want to do all you can to protect your brain from future damage. Maybe you have another autoimmune condition or brain-related problem, and you want to do all that you can to protect your brain. So this first question, okay, how many cups of vegetables did you eat in the last 24 hours? Ideally, that number is high, but for most of us, for most Americans, that number is very low. And in fact, I think it's typically less than 2 cups, 2 servings per day for most of us. I'll introduce you to a bit about Dr. Terry Wahls now. So her clinical research is being performed at the University of Iowa Hospitals and Clinics. She has recently received a $1 million research grant funded by the National MS Society. And she's looking at rigorous analysis of the Wahls diet plans and research in peer-reviewed publications. She's traveling the world, speaking on latest innovations. She hosts an annual conference here in Iowa, multiple peer-reviewed publications on her research studies. However, in 2003, she was on a rapid decline. In 2007, she was in a tilt recline wheelchair for most of her day, performing clinical rotations at the VA hospital. And she was very fatigued, very limited in her mobility, significant pain. And she recalls, okay, in 1980, she started to have electrical face pain due to trigeminal neuralgia. And she recognizes now that those were the first signs of her neurological issues. So it was relentless worsening since that point. Leg weakness diagnosed as multiple sclerosis in the year 2000. Again, relentless worsening. She took potent disease-modifying drug therapy, no positive changes, still relentless worsening. And she wanted to be a model of resilience for her children. So she started to read and experiment on herself. She discovered the Paleo diet. She discovered the Institute for Functional Medicine. She started taking fish oil, creatine, coenzyme Q10, and started to understand that there was potentially a different way forward. This is an image from the Institute for Functional Medicine that starts to describe that health and wellness is not just one input, but of many inputs. It is a lifestyle. Exercise, movement, nutrition, hydration is especially where the Wahls Protocol concept focuses. So about that time, she started to integrate basic science, evolutionary biology, ancestral health, functional medicine, and that's when the magic started to happen. So a 7-year decline using conventional treatments, all of the most potent disease-modifying drugs. And 1 year after she started her functional medicine treatment on herself, her own little experiment, she was back to riding a bike. And that's a significant change. And often this story brings tears to an entire crowd when she gives it, because it is such a powerful story. So at that point, she was encouraged to start her feasibility and safety study. And patients as a group were between needing a cane and a walker. And this multimodal study started. So we were looking at a multimodal intervention, including a modified Paleolithic diet, home exercise program, stress management, vitamins and nutritional supplements. And it's a very difficult thing to do, a study with multimodal interventions. At the root of it, she encourages all of her patients and anybody that are going down this path to discontinue gluten and wheat products, discontinue processed foods, discontinue eggs, discontinue dairy products, and eliminate sugar of all added sugar from the diet. Now you might say, okay, if I can't eat any of these things, how am I going to get the nutrients that I need? Well, actually, she did a study on her own, the Wahls Protocol diet, and found that her diet, the Wahls diet, exceeded all RDA values of what's necessary. So the standard American diet barely meets those metrics. Her diet far exceeds those metrics. And as you might recognize, Okay, some of those vitamins and nutrients that her approach targets are good for your body, as are all of them. So her first concept, okay, you eliminate gluten, you eliminate sugar, you eliminate dairy and eggs, but also a tremendous focus is on nutrient-dense vegetables. So leafy greens, deeply rich and colored fruits and vegetables, meaning colored all the way through. So a berry is a blackberry is black all the way through. A banana is yellow on the outside but white on the inside. So that's not an ideal food for this approach. And sulfur-rich vegetables, which includes cabbage, onions, and cruciferous vegetables. In addition, in an ideal world, we should be consuming grass-fed meats, organ meats, and wild fish. So those components all make up the Wahls Protocol diet, and implementing those steps, we can see some dramatic changes. So you might think, as we go forward here, okay, well, what can I eat with those things? Well, you can have the most delicious foods on the planet, I would say. And often, if you were to go to the finest restaurant, you might order something that looks like these items. So on her website and in social media, you can find this pyramid, the Wahls Paleo Diet Food Pyramid. So what you'll notice, it's a dramatic difference from the U.S. standard diet. It includes no grains at the bottom here, which makes up the significant portion of the standard American diet now. So I encourage you to investigate this and implement this approach into your day. Okay, so as we look at her research, her pilot study, the multimodal intervention improves the quality of life. And so the stats here show that there was a significant change, a statistically significant change in quality of life. Anxiety and depression scores declined with this approach. Verbal and nonverbal reasoning improves with this approach. And the quality of life improves in this randomized controlled study, which is a significant step. So in 2016, she started the 4th clinical trial. That's the $1 million donation from the MS Society. You can find some really beautiful and incredible videos of those pieces of research on her website, and those links are here. Those videos will show you the significant changes in mobility that these patients saw when implementing the Wahls Protocol diet, and it's really just a beautiful story. So as we go forward here, we're starting to learn that more and more scientists and more research is starting to encourage this path also. So as I help you navigate this slide, okay, the Western diet, high fat, high salt diet on the far left changes the microbiome, changes the immune system, leads to dysbiosis, immune balance, and potential autoimmunity, changes the brain, and changes your risk for type 1, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis. So if you remember that image from before, lifestyle-induced chronic disease leads to a significant number of changes. So this image, as we walk through it here, highly inflamed Western diet, the standard American diet, leads to altered gut permeability, leads to a production of neuromodulatory compounds, vagus nerve activation. We look at immune pathways, immune cell production, and microbial metabolism that starts to become altered with a standard American diet. So as we go forward here, starting to see more and more research that recommends brain preservation strategies, whether or not you have drug treatment, exercise, stress reduction, improved diet quality, non-smoking, toxin avoidance. Okay, well, all of this starts to sound like the Wahls Protocol that she has proposed. Now, she does have the funding now for a new research study. So we're looking for newly diagnosed relapsing remitting MS patients offered and declined drug therapy. That study requires 2 visits to Iowa, and you can contact her here if you fit these categories for that study or know someone that does. So she's actively recruiting for this piece of research now, and this could be a groundbreaking study if it goes forward. And depending on what the results show, we may see a significant adoption of the Wahls Protocol in the standard of care. Okay, back to this question. How many vegetables, cups of vegetables, did you eat in the last 24 hours? Or fish, or grass-fed meat? if we can start to look at these items and incorporate them into our day, we might see some significant changes in our own cognitive abilities and mobility issues. Again, this is not medical advice, but I encourage you to pick up both of her books and start to dig into this topic in your own way. So if this concept is of interest to you, she is hosting a virtual conference this year because of the pandemic. So the Essentials track is May 12th through the 14th, 2021. The Advanced track is July 7th through 2021. I will be presenting this year at that conference on mobility, posture, and pain. It will be, I've attended that conference several years in a row, and it is always a great conference to attend. So if any of these concepts sound enlightening to you, I encourage you to check that out. You can follow her on all the social media channels and her website. And both on her social media and ours, we share cooking tips and recipes. She has a robust site of recipes to share, and I think you'll really like it. Now, okay, if I can assist you in any way down this path, our website here, capitalcardsm.com/Wahls, contains our Wahls Protocol documentation information. We can do telehealth or in-person consultations for the Wahls Protocol. And for that guidance and support, additional resources, we have a physical therapist on our staff. We can perform telehealth or in-person visits, rehab and exercise guidance, again, telehealth or in-person here in Des Moines, acupuncture and dry needling, pain management, and soon to come, the Iowa HBOT hyperbaric treatments. So if you have any questions on this topic, if you need additional resources, obviously you can check out the Wahls Protocol website and her social media, Dr. Terry Wahl's website and social media, or our sites as well. Now, if my contact information is here, so again, if you have any questions, please do reach out. If we can help you in any way, reach out. These topics are a passion subject for me, and if you my early years in nutrition were not ideal, and any change down your path of lifestyle changes matters. Every bite counts, every bit at the end of your fork really does matter, because your cellular function changes with what you're putting in your body. So I wish to thank you, and a big thanks to Natural Grocers again for having me. Please do reach out with any questions on this topic, and I'll hope to see you at the virtual Wahls event coming soon. So thanks so much, and I'll pull it back to you here, Janine.
Thank you, Dr. LoRang, for presenting today. We really appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for attending. Please be sure to subscribe to Natural Grocers channel and to be on the lookout for more Natural Grocers presentations in the upcoming weeks. Thank you, everyone, and good night.